Welcome to SKWAT TAWKS. Tonight we're going to be talking about stretching. And so you're going to be seeing me do some stretches that I often include in my day. Sometimes I'll do them during a workout. A lot of times I'll just kind of do them when I'm sitting around watching TV or when I wake up or just kind of getting ready for the day or for a workout. I might do some of these. So you're watching me do something that takes me about 15 minutes to get through. Probably take me about 20 if I was really taking my time with each of these individual stretches. I could probably spend a half hour on them if I was just kind of relaxing and kind of doing them while I watch TV or having a conversation or doing some other things. But I kind of work through them fairly quickly here. First couple things you see are some arm circles, and then I do what I call a windmill. These are something that swimmers do all the time to kind of loosen up their upper bodies, and so I've been doing these for, I don't know, a long time. A lot of the people who give this a try seem to have difficulty with the coordination of one arm going forward and the other going back. It's like hands on a clock going in opposite directions. But yeah, it's a good exercise or stretch, I think. I'm doing some head circles here. When I teach this to swimmers, I'm trying to disassociate movement of the head with the shoulders and T-spine. So I'm not trying to hunch over when I put my head down, and I'm not trying to arch my lower back when I lift my head up. You're trying to dissociate the movement of the head, and that's important when you're swimming because when you breathe, you turn to one side, and you don't want to necessarily that affecting your body movement. So is that important for squatting? I don't know, but it's just kind of a way to dissociate head movement from the rest of the body and to feel a little bit more supple through the neck. So here I'm turning left and right, up and down, and I think I tilt my head from side to side here in just a bit as well. The next stretches are with a rack, or they can be done in a doorway. They can be done on like a fireplace mantle, just against a wall too if you have nothing like that. And this is just kind of something to spread the chest. You can do this with both arms up, or you can do it with one arm, like in a doorway. It's a really good stretch for the chest. And if you bring the scaps together, it can be kind of a good mobility movement for the T-spine as well. This is a lat stretch, so you can see me kind of dipping one shoulder, and as I do that, I'm kind of leaning into that stretch. And I'm also actively kind of pulling against that post, so you can't necessarily see everything there. I'm leaning into one side, and at the same time I'm kind of pulling my body away from the post to kind of work that lat. This is what I would call skin the cat. I lace my fingers together and then I extend my elbows. This is difficult if you don't really have much flexibility through the pecs. It can be very difficult, especially if you're muscly. It's a difficult one. The next one is going to be a clavicle and trap stretch. This is a kind of an interesting one. What you're going to do is you're going to take one hand, you're going to pull your arm in the opposite direction slightly, and then you're going to tip your head in that direction, and that's going to work through your traps. It's a really interesting stretch. I don't really remember how I stumbled upon that one. I think probably a swimming coach helped me out and figured that one. If you tip your head forward, you're going to feel it a little bit differently. If you tip your head back, you're going to feel that in through the clavicle region as well. So it's a really interesting stretch. I've never really seen anybody mention this outside of me, but I do it with my swimmers when people are talking about having a clavicle tightness and things like that. It's a stretch that I often recommend. I'm going to do some hip circles to kind of start off the lower body here. There are a couple cues that I would suggest when you're doing stretching. One cue that Dick Hartzell recommends is kind of shop around when you are stretching. I think that's a great cue for stretching, is to shop around and to feel different stretches and to feel tensions, feel relaxations. Shopping around is a great cue for stretching. Also, Pavel, in his work, often mentions find space, and that's a good one too. When you are doing flexibility work, when you're doing mobility work, when you're doing stretching, one of the things you want to try to do is find space. You can see me kind of prying this this stretch, bending the knees, straightening the knees, pushing the hips back. This is an IT band stretch. Yeah, I've had people tell me, well, you can't really stretch the IT band. I get that, I understand that, but it's a stretch that makes me feel better through the hips and lower back. So I do that one. So you're kicking your hip in the direction of the forward foot there with that IT band stretch. Next, I'm going to be holding onto the rack here, and I'm going to be doing a quad stretch. This can turn into a knee stretch if you're not actively kind of pushing or pulling the knee backward as you do it. If the knee just kind of flops forward as you're doing it, it turns into just kind of a knee stretch, which doesn't really stretch the quad or the hip flexor at all. So as you do this one, you want to actively kind of push or pull the knee backwards as you are doing the quad stretch. I think I bring my knee forward here to kind of illustrate that a little bit here, maybe. Yeah, no, maybe not. I'm doing this lat stretch again. Notice how if I extend one foot here and if I kind of lean in that direction, I'm going to feel that stretch all the way through the lat, in through the oblique, and into the hips. It's a bit of a variation on that lat stretch that you can really feel all the way from your lat to in through the IT band. I'm going to have a seat here. I'm going to do straddle stretch. Excuse me, let me get a drink here. When you do the straddle stretch, you want to try to force the chest up and maintain a good posture and fold at the hips, not through the lumbar as you kind of relax into that stretch. And then I'm going to go to one side and then the other. Again, you don't want this to be a lumbar stretch. It's supposed to be through the hips and hamstrings, so, and the adductors. After this, I'm going to bring in 1 foot, and this will be something that kind of works the internal rotators of the hip, just being in that position. And again, it's not meant to be a T-spine or lumbar stretch, so it doesn't look like I'm very upright there, but I'm trying to be upright. That is the intention as I lean forward. I'm trying to fold at the hips rather than through the lumbar and T-spine and neck. Do remember to breathe. As you are in these positions, you want to be breathing. I mean, there are times where you're going to hold your breath, but generally speaking, as a technique, I would say you want to be breathing in a relaxed manner as you do that. I'm in the quadruped position here. I'm rocking back and forth and feeling a stretch through the glutes and in through the side of my legs. Here I'm just going into a kneeling position here, forcing the hips forward, trying to feel that through the hip flexors. And then I'm going to kneel into a hip flexor stretch. I'm not overly pushing this, but I am driving the hips forward here, trying to feel that in right now through the right hip flexor. From here I'm going to do what I call kind of a can opener position. I'm sure there's a yoga term for this that's not can opener, but that's what I call it. Kind of a can opener position. Again, I'm feeling that through the external rotators of the hip, kind of leaning into that side there. And I'll follow this up with one of my favorite stretches, downward dog. As I do this downward dog, and if you've done yoga, if you work with yoga instructors, they probably have better cues than I do. But the cues I use are I'm trying to push my palms into the ground, and at the same time I'm trying to drive my heels through the ground as well, and I'm trying to stick my butt up as high as I can possibly go. I sink the head and try and force that chest out as much as I can. I notice that I will sometimes bend the knees and then re-extend them. I'm trying to pry there a little bit. Again, I think that's a Pavel cue, is to kind of pry the stretch a little bit. And notice how I now go onto one foot and then the other. And again, I'm bending the knee and then straightening the knee, trying to pry that position just a little bit. The knees over toes guy mentioned some kind of stretch like this as well. I found that doing it in the in the downward dog position is just kind of a good one. I'm sure that the knees over toe guy has something different, but yeah, my knees have been pretty healthy. Again, back in downward dog position. And then the last thing we're going to do is some tactical frog positions. I don't remember where I learned this one. I can't remember if it was from, I think it was from John Ingham at an RKC many years ago, but it might have been Pavel, maybe Dan John. I know at an RKC that I assisted at, I think all three were at that particular RKC cert, and so I could have gotten it from Pavel or John Ingham or Dan John. But anyway, with the tactical frog, you're in this position here. Your hips are splayed out, and you're trying to work those adductors, and then you will rock from one side to the other, and you're externally rotating the hips. And I think that's it. So let me know what you think of these. I think they can be helpful for your squatting longevity and make you feel better through the joints and mobility. Give some comments, give us a like, and subscribe to SKWAT Talks. I'll see you on the next one.